Hello, everybody. Yes, settle down, because today I got a little bit of a different video for you guys. Now, it's been super interesting. I've been seeing quite a bit of stuff about Japan, but also I've been seeing a lot of stuff about anime and video games, and there's a lot of new people, and there's just a lot of conversations around things like that. Pretty much nerd culture in general too, because I've even seen some stuff around like Marvel and stuff like that. So today's a bit of a different video. I want to give some context before we kind of start. Like, comment, subscribe, guys, the whole 9 yards. Let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about. I try to stay away from drama, but I think this one might be productive just because I do know Japan. I've been there. I've worked with Japanese people. I speak Japanese and all these things. So hopefully I can give just a tiny bit, possibly, of a insight as someone who's been into it for a very long time. I was born in 93. I'm 32 and I've been watching anime since I was like, I want to say about 10, 11. So I'm very ingrained with it. Even with the newer stuff, even though I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the newer stuff, but I'm still a bit, in tune. I'm more of a gamer, if anything. But let's take a look at something that I've seen on TikTok a lot. I haven't even watched the video yet, by the way. I see a lot of people stitching this a little bit. So I want, but I want this to be as straightforward as possible. Hopefully I can give some insight to this. Now, to start off, before I play the video, there has been a lot of complaints on, again, TikTok, because I have a TikTok account. You guys can go follow me. It's usually just skits, by the way, nothing crazy. But it's kind of interesting seeing how people are upset with a lot of newer anime, I guess fans is the best word to use in this case. But the thing is, it's not just anime. I have a bunch of friends who are in the FGC, like they go to Evo constantly, they're always training and stuff. And they're saying that they see the same problem actually with the FGC, which is, a bunch of newer people coming in, right? And kind of, I guess they don't have the knowledge enough to speak on things. The other thing is, with anime, they call them, I don't want to get demonetized or anything, but the pandemic anime starters, like they started anime during the pandemic, but now they think that because they saw like, One Piece or something like that they know about anime and stuff like that. It's a lot, because you have to realize as well, anime is slightly a part of Japanese culture. Overall, you really need to realize that, like, a lot of the references, it's usually in reference to something in Japanese culture. So if you don't even understand Japanese culture, you're probably not going to understand anime. And when I see the word anime tourism, that's what I think of. It's, the new people or the people who don't watch it as much. Now, it is weird because you do have a right to say something if you see something weird. But I think it's when people come up, it's kind of like, what happened again during the pandemic. We had people who were experts saying stuff and then it turned out it wasn't true. This is kind of like the other way around. It's a bunch of new people saying things as if it's fact. I remember being on TikTok and I see people literally debating like, oh, Goku can't beat Black Panther and like crazy stuff like that. There was someone that said Luffy can like one tap most of anime, and stuff like that. It's getting, I tend to think people are just rage baiting. I'm going to be 100% here. I genuinely think people are just rage baiting. And they know that some of the stuff that they're saying is kind of out of pocket and stuff. But I'm going to start the video, give my take. Hopefully it can be productive and you guys can, understand where I'm coming from. I'm coming from in the middle. I recognize, Japan isn't all, good, because people tend to evangelize Japan, right? They only say, oh, it's really, 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 really good, but they don't want to talk about the downsides of it. So hopefully I can be somewhere in the middle.
All right, fine.
And talk about that.
I'll talk about this. God damn it. So normally
And it's really weird, just off of the way the video starts. I kind of feel the same. It is one of those topics where you sit here and you're just like, it's hard to have this conversation without pissing people off. It's kind of like, honestly, I would say it's kind of like talking about politics, where it's like, I don't mind it, but it's like, it's gonna, does that make sense? Like, it's gonna cause a problem, possibly.
I wouldn't make this kind of video, but I guess it's been blowing up in my mentions recently, so I figured I would maybe give my 2 cents on the matter, even though there has already been a ton of people who have made their own interpretations on the whole thing. But as the title suggests, let's talk about tourists. And no, I don't mean tourists in the traditional sense of, people you see out and about exploring a country or anything like that. I mean tourists in the digital footprint sense, or more specifically in the subculture sense. People who are just visiting and checking it out, looking at it from the surface and maybe getting a different perspective on it than people who actually live or are a part of said location. And the same thing can definitely be said.
And it is crazy because if you guys have been following me, I'm technically a tourist to the VTubing space, right? That's why I have a whole thing around journey through VTubing is what I call it. I go through all the different agencies and see about them, because the only way to fix tourism is to make yourself knowledgeable. And I think what makes that series good is you guys comment all the time, like, hey, that's not how that works. That's not how this works. You were right about this, but there's a caveat, stuff like that. That's how you not become a tourist. I will say this. I think part of the problem is people stay tourists, but then they get very confident in what they're saying. Like I said, right? It is a lack of experience and knowledge, but everything to say, right? Like you saw all of Dragon Ball, you saw Dragon Ball Z, maybe you saw Super, and so you're gonna sit here and say something crazy like, like Frieza can beat, UI Goku and stuff like that. It's just that, to me, that seems like rage bait. Oh my God. I know I said that already, but you have to understand the context of some of these things. It's not even good context, bro.
And for subcultures. And
today, but that's staying a tourist, right? There's a lot more to a lot of anime, really, than just and I get power scaling is a thing too.
Hey, we're gonna be
I can, oh my God, I can just go on all day. Let me just hit play on the video before I just veer off into something else.
Talking about the tourists of one particular subculture that I happen to have been a part of for quite a while now, anime. I think it's really nobody's surprise that, especially over, I would say, the past 5 years or so, basically ever since COVID happened and everyone was forced to stay inside, and a lot of people over COVID very much got into anime when maybe before.
Especially since Netflix has a crap ton of anime now, like a lot of it, like a lot. A lot of people were saying like Naruto's OP for no reason, right? But they didn't watch OG original Naruto. They only saw Shippuden, and that was it. And it's like, you have to realize, like, in the real OG Naruto, like, he almost died like 9 times. Again, TikTok has been wild. People have been saying the craziest things, and it's, when someone says something, you're like, oh, you must be new. You guys know that meme where they're like, oh, you must be new. It's been like that. It's been like that.
Beforehand, they didn't even have a split thought about it.
I just realized this is kind of cool too. His earring is Jirachi. That's pretty sick.
Extreme circumstances that we were all put into all over the world, that a lot of people who previously didn't give a rat's ass about anime or Japanese animation of any sorts came out the other end being anime fans, or at least self-proclaimed anime fans. These, ladies and gentlemen,
there's a meme too with girls. And I've been, again, it's really interesting because I don't think it's not just, I don't think it's just anime in terms of the animation. I think it's the entirety of the culture. A great example is I was watching this one TikTok of a girl, and she was saying she was made fun of, and she had receipts. She was showing receipts that she was made fun of in school for watching anime. And now all of those girls are now like, oh, hey, I watched anime. Yeah, I saw Bleach and stuff like that. It's like, actually, you want to know the best way to say this? And if you listen to rap music, this is, you'll know. They not like us. Does that make sense? It's like you're a tourist still. It is good you're into it and you're learning. But I do think there's a little bit of like, learn more, watch other things, learn about what maybe the author was trying to portray and stuff like that. It's a lot. But then that's where it's difficult, because then it's seen as gatekeeping. But I don't know. Because when you're made fun of, you see what I mean? When you're made fun of, bullied and stuff like that for liking it, it's kind of like you kind of just walked in. I don't know. That's difficult. That's difficult. But there is a sense of like, no, you're not like us. Yeah, it's really weird. It is. Maybe you guys down below can maybe put my thoughts into a better constructed argument on that particular point. That's interesting.
Anime tourists, or I guess that's what the internet decided to call them, because I only just found out about this term maybe like 2 weeks ago, and it's fucking hilarious. And especially over the COVID pandemic, and especially with the blow up of things like TikTok and short form media, there has definitely been no ending of this surge of anime tourists who are invading our sanctity in our sanctuous place. And there is one particular video,
and that's, oh my god, that's why it's difficult, because he used the word invading. That's important, because again, if you're using the word invading, to some degree the culture is gatekept, which I'm sorry, I'm just thinking, because how can you, if you're using the word invade, it's implying that you're an outsider, a tourist, but a tourist can change. So if you're invading, at what point are you no longer an invader? Does that make sense? I hope it does. I surely hope it does. Because for me, a great example, again, I've been watching anime for a very long time. I saw OG Bleach and Naruto and Dragon Ball Z. I wasn't a fan of Bleach, but I loved, OG Naruto and Dragon Ball. But to some other people, it's like they'll be like, oh, well, I like Bleach, don't like. Does that make sense? The gatekeeping switches person to person. So at what point are you a fan who can probably comment on something? That's what makes it difficult.
Which I'm not going to give any attention to, and I'm not going to mention names, because I've already used it in the thumbnail, and I'm sure most people are already aware of the situation. Mm-hmm. If you care to know what it is, then I'm sure somebody, or at least 20-something people in the comments, have mentioned their names. But a particular video was, sent to me. Not just, people who watch my stuff, but also personal friends of mine who were like, Joey, you're going to have to see this video. And it was essentially very much a me-coded video. This is a video that you would have seen maybe on my main channel like 5-10 years ago or something like that, where it's essentially a video of a bunch of anime fans, at least self-proclaimed anime fans, who go and rank every single first episode of every popular anime from every single year. When I saw that video, I was like, damn, that's kind of a cool idea. I kind of wish I made that video back in the day. Or I think someone did do something similar, but it was the first 3 episodes, because in the anime community, we have the first 3 episode rule, where if the first 3 episodes doesn't really catch your attention, most people tend to drop it. So you're not just sinking a crap ton of time into an anime that's about nothing. I believe there was someone who did that, but it was with 3 episodes. Well, maybe I can still make it today if you guys want. So I was curious, because it's not often that we get to see anime fans, or at least anime content creators in this platform, talk about the medium from that big of a spectrum. Most people are usually very quick to talking about the hot shows that are currently trending right now, or maybe shows that they grew up with, maybe from like the 2010s or the 2000s or the 90s or stuff like that. But it's very rare that we actually get to see people going through the entire lifetime of anime, at least in the popularity sense, or the popular sense of televised.
Yeah, because I was going to say there's been a lot of anime guys. Like a lot.
Anime from, the 1960s or whatever. I've done a couple of videos like that in the past, as you guys have hopefully watched and liked. And
I also did not like Sword Art. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Sorry.
although I didn't grow up with the older stuff, I try to understand the significance and the history behind it, because the medium itself would be.
And so he put, oh God, this is a good point, actually. And this was the other thing that I think people don't realize when it comes to some of this. And this also goes for gaming, by the way. People tend to forget the significance of it when it released. They want to look back and compare it to things that are now. Obviously, there's going to be better anime than Dragon Ball Z right now. Like, don't be stupid. Like, obviously. But what people try to do is downplay Z or downplay, I don't even know, like certain parts of Naruto and be like, oh yeah, that was mid. And it's like, bro, you have to realize during that time, that was absolute peak. Need I remind you guys of the Chunin exam? Especially if you were there when it released, like I was and my brother and other people, that was absolute peak. I would argue the Chunin exam is one of the biggest arcs that people will remember for a very long time. But again, if you try to be like, oh, well, Dragon Ball Super has better stuff. And it's like, yeah, no fucking shit, Sherlock. You want a cookie? Like, yeah. Because it's almost like it's newer and it looks prettier and all these other things. That's why it's so crazy. If you put in the context of, hey, like when it released, like when it happened, and you had the competitors, because you did have Z, and then you had Bleach and One Piece and everything all at the same time, and Naruto was put on top because of the Chunin exam, and then also the fight with Naruto and Sasuke the first time, when Sasuke ran away with the curse mark, that was also extreme peak as well. But if you just go, oh, well, if I compare it to like, something else that released last year, oh, it's not as good. It's just mid. Especially if you don't have context either, then it just looks like, just a fight. And the context behind it doesn't matter either. And that's when people look at you like a tourist. I would look at you like, did you watch before it, or did you just watch the fight only? Did you understand the context as to why the fight happened? Do you understand why, A, B, and C? If not, then people might look at you differently, rather than, someone who wants to be here faithfully. And people you got to take into consideration when it released, what it did for the space. I think most people will say this. A lot of people learned how to draw because of Dragon Ball. A lot of people learned how to draw because of Bleach. A lot of people learned how to draw because of Naruto. A lot of people did. I have friends, two of my friends started drawing because of Bleach. And that's the impact at the time that it had on people. They liked the style, especially Bleach was very fashionable. Very, very fashionable. The openings, they're wearing all different types of clothes. And it looked amazing. So I don't want to harp on it too long, but that's where I say it's difficult, because at what point is it being gatekeeping? At one point, you know what I mean? Can we kind of huddle around and just stay on one point when it comes to stuff like that? Or maybe we're just not asking the right questions. Maybe we should ask people like, hey, I saw you did this tier list. Did you look into A, B, and C possibly? Context around why or something like that. I don't know. But I would argue it's a pretty, decent question to ask.
Nothing without these giants whose shoulders all of these other shows have stood on. But man,
a great example is I genuinely didn't like Inuyasha. Inuyasha was another one that I didn't care of, but I do know that Inuyasha inspired so many animes, it's not even funny. It's genuinely not even funny. The same goes for obviously Akira Toriyama with Dragon Ball. I loved Dragon Ball as well. So if you don't understand that Inuyasha inspired a lot of girls, I would say he's one of the original cat boys, by the way, or wolf boys, I guess is a better way to say it. Inuyasha, you wouldn't know. You would just see a dude getting bullied by a girl. and Inuyasha is a hothead. That's all you would see. You wouldn't see the entire arc of it and why it had a significance. And if you're a girl and you saw all of Inuyasha, especially back then, most girls were like, no, I had the hugest crush on Inuyasha. It was very, very common to hear a girl be like, "Oh, I think Inuyasha is so hot," or even was it his brother? I forgot the other one, the one with the moon on his head. It's been a while since I've seen it, but that's another example.
This video, this fucking video, it was not up to the standard that I was hoping for. Look, this isn't supposed to be some kind of like drama video.
Did you hear what he said? The standard he was hoping for. Like I said, again, the gatekeeping varies from person to person. It's I'm gonna say it again. At what point do we say you're no longer a tourist? Where's that line? You see what I mean? Where's that line?
Obviously, you know, I don't give a fuck about that kind of stuff, but I just find it really amusing as to just the visceral reaction that the online anime community had towards this video. Like, God, I don't think I've ever seen such a visceral reaction.
If I can find it, I'll look at maybe like a minute or two of the video to see what he's talking about. I'm going into this blind. I saw a small little stitch on TikTok, and I want full context and want to hear what Joey has to say. But whatever video he's talking about, I'll take a look at it after, see if I can find it.
Anime video in my 12 years of being an Anituber, I thought I had some bad takes. I have been thwarted, and I had a lot of people being like, Joe, you got to make a response video to it. You got to make your own version of this video. You got to come back and save Anitude, bro. And, you know, look, I respect that, and I appreciate all of those kind comments. So if you did, you know, on social media and stuff like that, kind of, you know, weirdly defend me in a weird way, even though I had nothing to do with this video. Thank you. But I think I want to use this opportunity instead to just kind of talk about the more broader underlying issue, the elephant in the room, if you will. Because anime tourism...
again, it's not just anime. Fighting games is going through it. Honestly, even technically like the Marvel and like Star Wars is going through this too. Sorry, I was drinking water. Star Wars, Marvel, the fighting game community. There's honestly Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore, but I've been seeing a crap ton. I'm still friends with a bunch of my friends who won like nationals and stuff, and they're starting to say something kind of similar. There's a lot of new people, and it's getting a little hectic, even with Yu-Gi-Oh! With Magic. I think right now everybody is just trying to find a niche that they like. So that's possibly why. Maybe it'll correct itself with time, but we'll see.
Or anime tourists are kind of a real thing. And, you know, even though this may be the first time I'm talking about it in a long form video like this, I have been kind of subtly talking about it, you know, using my short form content on, you know, things like Instagram Reels and TikTok and stuff like that, which, you know, if you missed that whole train.
I did see that Joey responded to one of the dudes where he said, it's not that deep, but that's all I saw. Because again, I wanted to come into this fresh.
Check this video, links in the description. There is a big reason why I personally kind of took a break from making anime content. Yes. And it was basically because of this very issue. Like
it's really interesting. You guys heard me earlier. I'm not much into anime anymore. And I'm more of a gamer, and it is a little bit of the reason why too. The overlying issue can technically be put to that. I've been getting back into it and just kind of realizing, you know, this is just part of it. It's the same thing with, like I said, gaming in the FGC and playing these games too. It's all the same. I think once you realize this is a problem across the board, it's not just anime, man. Come on. It's not just that. It's everywhere. It is. It's
a lot of
all
people
over the
think
place,
this
man.
whole anime tourism thing started only like recently. Like I'm talking like
it's been an issue.
It's
been an issue for a while, but I think it just got more prevalent because it was en masse. Again, we were all inside during the pandemic, and it just showed its face years later.
No, it's this problem has been around for quite a while now. As much as I think that yes, it is a problem in a weird way, I do also think it's an inevitability. So to start with, why is it a problem? Why is anime tourism or anime tourists a problem? Well, it's a problem for a number of reasons. And I think the biggest one may have to do with the perspectives of those who have been in the anime community, the online anime community, for as long as it's been around. Basically, I would say since like the early 2000s.
Yeah, one thing that I've seen is a bunch of newer anime people not liking, technically people like me, people who've been into anime for a very long time, because we don't like newer anime, or the tastes are completely different. I can say, as someone who's been here for a while, the what word am I looking for? I want to say the effort in a lot of anime has dropped significantly. Like we're not getting OG Naruto the way it used to be. Like you guys saw Boruto. And I think it's just in Japan, a lot of them are passing the torch on to other people. Because I know Boruto isn't the same person, I believe, that did Naruto. Even with what game is it? Even with video games, like Night Rain, Elden Ring Night Rain, that wasn't what's his face? That did that game. Actually, he passed it down because in Japan, and again, this is when you kind of transcend tourism. This is a culture thing. In Japan, they care a lot about the next generation. That's why Boruto is a thing. They care a lot about what's after. If you look at and I don't know if you guys noticed with Dragon Ball too, technically Z was supposed to end during the Cell Saga, and the torch was supposed to be passed to Gohan. I don't know if you guys knew that, but that's a Japanese thing. That is what they do. They care about the next generation. That's why Boruto is literally Boruto, the next generation, because that's what they care about. But I think there's just a disconnect when it comes to who likes what, and not just age, but also like quality and stuff. I guess it depends on what you watch. Some people are saying the quality's gone down. Some people say it's went up. And I think this is also causing slightly the tourism thing, because a lot of the tourists are seeing a lot of the newer anime within the past like 5 years. And they don't have the reference of what I've seen, right? Like OG Naruto, OG Dragon Ball Z specifically, OG Bleach, Haruhi Suzumiya and stuff like that. Angel Beats, very, very early anime, and they're so used to seeing really, really pretty things. So when things like the pain fight in Naruto Shippuden happens, they're complaining. And it's like, well, we're very used to that, right? You see, there's a disconnect. There's a huge disconnect. So there's a lot to say. I'm gonna play the video more. I can just go on, man. I really can. I really, really can.
I'm just gonna keep playing the video. Early 2010s, at least on YouTube and stuff like that. Because believe me, when I started the Anime Man channel back in 2013, there wasn't really an AniTube community. There wasn't really an anime community.
There wasn't a AniTube community, but there was guys, there was a lot of AMVs. Like the amount of Naruto Linkin Park AMVs was insane. Like a lot of them. Dragon Ball fights, Bleach fights with rock music. There was a lot of that though. Like a crap ton of it.
There were, of course, yes, great AniTubers who came before me and who were around before I came onto the scene. And there was most certainly an anime community online on things like forums and stuff like that.
Yes.
But it wasn't so much a community as just like a gathering, because the medium was so still niche and especially new in the Western world, and especially on the online Western world, that there wasn't so much a community of sorts. And it wasn't really until I would say like mid 2010s that it really started to become this like community, if you will. Because before then, it was very common in the real world, and I was a big victim of this, that if you came out and said that you liked these Japanese cartoons, you were weird. Just be bullied for it. Oh, you like these weird.
And I said that earlier. See?
Japanese I said this earlier. Cartoons with like your anime schoolgirls.
I said this earlier. And now everybody wants to do it. And you know what I think it is as well? I said Not Like Us, for those of you who don't know, that's a Kendrick Lamar song where he was dissing Drake. And I think the older people, or people who at least been watching it for a while, the way that they feel is the tourists are like Drake. You're literally just here probably trying to leech off of the ones that actually were here. And to be fair, like I said, were bullied. Like I was into Visual K, and then I got to work in the music industry. I did get a lot of crap for that. I did get lucky, and there was a very small circle of people at my school who were into it when I was in high school. But a lot of anime people, bro, we were bullied. So there is a little bit of like, there's a lot of hurt as well. And we went through a lot in order to get to this point. And now there's a bunch of new people who seem to think they're like, you know what I mean, part of the cool kids club. It's kind of like a lot of the TikTok trends, how people don't know anything about it. They just do it because they think it's cool and it might get them views or something. So I think a lot of people look at that and they go, yeah, you're like Drake. Like I've been here. I know what it's about. I know how it works, you know, stuff like that. And you're not like us. You are a random person coming in and, you know, having takes and talking about this stuff. And that's probably how they see it. Now, me personally, I think it's in phases. And let me get into what I personally think versus what I think other people think, just to keep the record clear. I think when you're into anime, you're in phases, because it was the same thing when I was speaking Japanese and when I was learning about Japan, not just the anime, but literally the culture of Japan. You start out probably completely obsessed. And then once you watch a couple, it becomes a bit normalized in your life. So you then start to watch more, but you're a bit more picky now, right? Because you're in the space, you get it. You're kind of like, oh, okay, I know how to operate around here. And then you get to like my point at some, hopefully I should say, where it's more of like, oh yeah, you know, I've seen a lot and I can watch it once in a while. I think the tourism part is technically good in the long run, because a lot of those tourists become permanent stayers who will then have probably a very strong voice in the future. I think the problem is the tourist problem, quote unquote, there's so many of them in a very small amount of time that the problems that it's causing is more pervasive, and it's way more obvious to see it because there's so many all at once in a short amount of time. So it's a lot easier to point it out now than it was before. But I think the quote unquote tourist thing is good. You want tourists. You do. Because I'm just going to be honest, I don't want to be bullied for watching anime, dude. I don't. And I don't think anybody does. And the same goes for like gaming. Yeah, there's a lot of new people in the FGC now. It's going to suck for a while, dude. It's going to suck, but it's going to level. Hopefully, actually, it levels itself out. But that's my stance. The tourism part overall is a net positive, in my opinion, at the end of the day. That's just me, though. Not saying there's no issues with it. I'm trying to think macro in the long term.
I mean, trust me, I was there. I got bullied for it in school, you know, not only being the only remotely Asian kid in my school, but the only kid really who knew about this weird and wonderful world of Japanese cartoons. Yeah, and so imagine my shock when over the COVID pandemic, especially, and even a little bit before then as well, I'd say ever since the rise of TikTok, all of a sudden, those kids who were definitely at school bullying those kids who loved watching anime.
Bro, I said this earlier. There's literally TikToks of, especially girls. I've seen more girls talk about anime actually recently. who were like, yeah, man, I've been into this my whole life, got bullied, and now I'm seeing these same girls talk about, yeah, I'm a nerd. It feels it feels like you just got robbed. It's Drake. Like, you just walked in here and you just think you're just gonna say, oh yeah, like I'm one of you. Like, the gatekeeping part is it's a very difficult question. It is, in my opinion, because at what point do you think it's serious?
Then
or
turned
they
around
take
and
it
went,
seriously.
hey, you know what? Anime's actually kind of cool. Because, God, let me tell you, you kids today, I don't want to sound like an unk straight off the bat, but you kids today have got it fucking easy.
Yeah, you do.
We ran so that you guys could walk.
Yeah.
Now you don't get bullied for liking anime. You get bullied for liking the wrong anime. Can you imagine the amount of privilege that comes with? But all jokes aside, there is most certainly now, because anime has become so much more of a mainstream thing and so much more of a hip and cool thing and an okay thing to enjoy, there is certainly now a new group of people who previously, again, did not even want to say the word anime out loud, but didn't take the medium all that seriously. And then now, because of things like shorts content and because of the COVID pandemic pushing everybody inside for years and years, and basically people getting so bored to the point where they're like, all right, fine, let me give this anime thing a go, and then ending up enjoying it. It created a bunch of anime fans. And let me just say right off the bat, I don't think that being an anime tourist is necessarily all a bad thing. Yeah. I think everybody went through that phase at least once in their life. I think when back in like the early 2000s.
Actually, I just remembered the best way to say this. Actually, there's a very, very good way to say this. I remember I was at a convention, right? I was at AX. Was it Anime Expo? It was AX. And I was with a old friend of mine, and he was talking about how, the anime community is really cringe and this, and that. Mind you, he thinks it's cringe, but he's at AX. Right? I already know you guys are rolling your eyes. But I do think he had a point when he said this. He was like, it's the growing up part that he didn't like. And this is why earlier, right, I said this is in phases. And I think in the middle phase is where you can get the first or the second stage, you get stuck, because there's 3. The first is you're completely obsessed with. 9 times out of 10, I've spoken with, again, so many anime fans. Most of them, when you start, it's like an addiction. You just want to watch. And then when you watch, you get into phase 2. You know a bit. Some anime actually do give you some context of Japanese culture. You can kind of wrap your head around stuff. It's a bit more normalized, but you're still, watching quite a bit. And he was saying, like, he doesn't like when people use anime as their personality. And that's usually if you don't leave the first or second stage. That's if you very specifically stay in those 2 phases. Like cosplaying, yeah, that's whatever. Most people do that. But it's when you're with people and you're over the top all the time and stuff like that. That's when he was like, yo, I didn't jive with that, and it's why he stayed away from it. Now he watches a lot of it. But I do think if you don't recognize that it's just an anime, even if it is political, because anime is very political, especially games coming out of Japan is very political, especially the Persona series. It can kind of get you stuck. You can get stuck. Guys, let's be honest. You can get very, very stuck. Very stuck. You just need to make sure it can be seen for yourself. Hopefully you do some introspection and can get past that. But I do think that's a problem too. And that can turn people away too. Or even gatekeep harder, right? But even then, the gatekeeping is based off of
and stuff like that.
Whoever
or like
you're
the 2010s, if you started getting into the anime community, stuff like that. I think everybody at one point was an anime tourist. But we didn't call them anime tourists.
No, we didn't.
We called them weeaboos. It's like...
Bro. Weeaboo is a phase. It's okay. It's cringe, extremely. But as long as you recognize, please recognize it, you're fine. And then you move out of it. Okay. The same thing with there's another phase where it's called Japanophiles. So there's like weeaboo for anime, right? There's Koreaboo with like all of the Korea stuff and you know, the boy bands and stuff like that. But for Japan, not necessarily anime, but in terms of like the culture and like, you know, geishas and stuff like that, those are called Japanophiles. Someone who's just completely obsessed with the culture of Japan. Again, not specifically anime, but just a overarching the country of Japan's culture. We called them Japanophiles. We did. We really did. And it's really weird because when I was learning Japanese, I was more, at least back then, I think I was more of a weeaboo than a Japanophile. You have to learn the culture if you want to understand the language. And I think because I learned the language second, anime came first, and then it was the language. Yeah. It was anime first, language, and then the culture. But culture and language go together. Yeah. And then anime made more sense, and I got out of the weeaboo phase because you're able to decipher stuff a lot easier.
Kind of the same thing if you think about it. It's just like now it sounds less like a slur. You know, what is a weeaboo? A weeaboo is essentially just somebody who is non-Japanese who loves anime so much to the point where they think they understand everything about Japan and Japan.
To be fair, technically, you can be a weeaboo. You can be a Japanese person in a weeaboo to be like technical, but the term weeaboo did come from it did mainly mean overseas, like if you're not Japanese. But the culture, I don't know. Again, I remember calling them Japanophiles and not weeaboos. But maybe you're a weeaboo if you also are into. I don't know. That type of like context, I'm not too sure.
Japanese culture and Japanese subculture, but in reality, they are completely misguided and base all of their information off of fictional Japanese cartoons, and they create their entire personality around that.
What did I say, bro?
Fit in with a niche, and
I'm feeling so vindicated. I said that earlier. It's when, like I said, my old friend, he was like, it's when it's your personality and you do all this stuff. That's when it's just really, really annoying.
Fit in with who they think they actually are. It kind of sounds like an anime tourist. You know, it's essentially the same thing. But here is where I would differentiate a weeaboo from an anime tourist. And this is purely just
usually weeaboos are extremely young, like middle high school, in my honest opinion. Yeah, middle high school. Maybe high school, but that's arguable. But there's definitely like elementary, middle school. Yeah.
Definition. So if you think otherwise, I'd love to know down in the comments, all right? I think the biggest difference between an anime tourist and a weeaboo is that anime tourists
are older.
Think that their opinion on anime is more correct than everybody else. What do I mean by that? Well,
I said that. This is crazy, man. I said that earlier. It's when I'm going to use guns as an example. It's very, because this is, believe it or not, this is also a very, very, very huge problem in the gun community too. There's a lot of new people or people who just don't even have logical actual training do the same thing, where it's, oh yeah, you know, I've been a cop for a year, therefore my word is more than yours. Oh, you know, I don't know tactics. I don't go shooting. I just know about brands. Therefore, it's all over the place. And whenever I'm on TikTok watching these videos, and I gave you guys some examples of the crazy stuff I'd be seeing, it's one of those things where it's like, you shake your head and you're like, yeah, you're new. You are obviously so new here. But they say it with the utmost, you know what I mean? Like, straight I'm right face you've ever seen in your life, and you're like, dog, that's not even close. That's not how that is.
That a lot of these like anime tourists very much again, started watching anime over the pandemic and therefore have only really been exposed to, let's say, the past 5, maybe give or take 10 years of anime. And don't get me wrong, in the 10 years of anime since 2015, anime has certainly changed. The type of shows that get big have changed.
See?
The quality has fucking increased, and there have been a lot of merits to the evolution of anime in the past 10 years. But I think at the same time, anything that falls outside of the scope of the past 10 years, and anything that falls outside of the scope of how they think anime is and how they think anime should be, is deemed as wrong or incorrect. And I think that's why you get a lot of these like newer anime fans now who hype up these current shows, these like big.
I was bro. I have to say this, and this is one of the reasons why I've not been into anime. These animes that are coming out that are blowing up are very overrated. They are. I'm not saying they're bad. I think they're pretty good, but they are getting so popular, and it just doesn't make sense to me. One great example, and I mean this with my whole chest, is like Uzaki. That anime is about nothing, but people blew it up. I don't know why. Let's be honest, it's because Uzaki's tits are the size of a planet. But again, I think we could use that as an example. If I say Uzaki-chan is only popular because her tits are huge, I saw majority of it. And I was just like, there's no shot people were hyping this up because nothing happens. It's just about a girl who bullies this guy pretty much. The tourists would say, oh no, it is really good. One, the animation's good and stuff like that. But then it puts into question the type of anime that are going to get popular in the future. And because I've been watching for so long, I can see that, but they don't because they're new, right? Oh, Zaki-chan, at least they knew each other in high school and it's not some random girl. It's like a bunch of nothing. I'm sorry, Uzaki-chan should not be popular. There's so many other anime that do the exact same thing that aren't popular, but for some reason Uzaki blew up. I don't know. It's a difficult conversation overall to have because that's what got me out of it a little bit. I was kind of like, this is what this right here, Uzaki. This is what you guys want to promote so damn badly. This right here. Really? I'm sitting here like, dude, I'm just gonna go back in my hole and play video games. Oh man. But I do think there are some anime that's released that do deserve it genuinely, like Freyren. Freyren's really good. I actually watched that. I think it deserves it. It's really good. I think it just depends, but that's what makes it difficult. It's funny. I think it was on Trash Taste. I think it was Sea Dog that said it, where it's like, to be fair, the older, like me, Joey here, Sea Dog, Giga, we're not the audience anymore, right? Because the audience is for the old us. Like Naruto was popular because at the time it was literally meant for us, 14, 13-year-olds, 17, 16, maybe even 19, 20-year-olds, right? The younger audience who can more so probably relate to it. Now that we're older, we can probably look at it with a more strict lens and look at it differently than we did before. So we're not even the audience anymore. And maybe that's why I didn't like Uzaki, because I'm older and I'm just like, is this peak for you guys? This is what this is what you guys like? Like, okay. But again, it's probably because I'm just older and I have more life experience. And I did say this in a video on my main channel before, actually. I did, where I talked about things like 02 from Darling and her Franks and stuff like that. That's a whole other thing, but it could be that too, honestly. The age thing, it could just be the age differences and who the target audience is for a specific anime. Like I would imagine something like Uzumaki, which is a crazy anime and manga that can be for anybody. Berserk is probably for an older audience, right? But something like Spy Family could be for everybody. Maybe Uzaki-chan was supposed to be Gooner bait for the young girl. You see what I mean? Like maybe just the audience. So maybe I think that's a pretty fair assessment to use. I think it was Sea Dog. Guys, you can go down below and correct me if I'm wrong.
Shonen shows, like Solo Leveling or Attack on Titan or Jujutsu Kaisen and stuff like that, and think that every anime that should be praised needs to fall under that same exact umbrella. That's like listening to a rock band and thinking that all music needs to sound like rock music for it to constitute as music.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous for me to even say out loud. They don't understand that, not only has anime evolved over the past 10, even 5 years, but, if you go back to like 2000s anime or 90s anime or 80s or 70s or 60s anime, the art and the medium has evolved vastly. Just like how Led Zeppelin sounds completely different to, say, Muse, just as a broad example, right? It doesn't justify the fact that Led Zeppelin is no longer relevant or it's crap or it falls outside of music. That's what these anime tourists, at least from what I have seen online, claim. They think that they have entered this space and gone and looked around and gone, hey, everything that is like not epic fights and shonen and amazing animation and hype doesn't fall under what I constitute as a good.
A great example that I can think of is like I'm not into the girly stuff, like the slice of life and stuff, but anime that I genuinely tell people to watch is Ouran Host Club because that crap is funny. Another one is Surezure Children. That's a rom-com. I'm not into that, but I saw it and I was like, wait, this is hilarious. This is actually really good, right? It's not just, I'm not just sitting here as a dude be like, I want to see flights. I want to see JJK only. I don't Spy Family. There's no fighting in that. It's not as cool. You know what I mean? Anya's child is just it. So much, man. You know what I mean?
Good anime, therefore it must be bad. I don't remember where I saw it, but I remember seeing a comment on like a TikTok or a YouTube video or something where somebody called these anime tourists, or at least this new rise or era of anime tourists as the Columbus era of anime. Much like Christopher Columbus, who went to the Americas, mistook it for India, and called the natives now a term that I'm not allowed to say anymore, and claimed the land for themselves because he was like, well, I discovered it, and fuck all of you guys. This is my place now. And I was like, holy shit, this is exactly what these anime tourists are doing. They're like coming to these unfamiliar lands, planting their flag in the soil, and going, we own this land now. Out of the way, previous people. Your opinions are irrelevant now because you are old and your time is up and you don't know what good anime is anymore.
Hello, future Hikaru here. I actually don't really comment on this part, which is kind of odd, but I got told by my team after the fact this was the part that, is very controversial, so I want to put my thoughts here. I don't think this analogy is great. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think that the newer, quote unquote anime tourists are here to kick people out. I don't. They might be very opinionated. I don't think anybody would, discredit that. I think that's a pretty fair thing to say. A lot of the newer people are very, very, very opinionated, but I don't think they're kicking people out. What I think is happening is because they're so opinionated, it feels like they're trying to, push people away and push people out because you don't have the same opinion. But I don't think that's the intent. I think these are just a bunch of people who are probably excited or, like the power scaling community, they will literally start fights on purpose and say stupid stuff just because why not? I don't think they're pushing people out on purpose and knowingly as well. I don't think that's the case. So I don't think this analogy was it. So let's just get back to the video, guys.
But at the same time, they claim all of this. They don't respect the history of the
medium. They don't.
They don't respect how the evolution has happened. They don't respect the cultural significance behind
the cultural experience is a big one, but they also don't understand not just not understand, but they also don't respect the inspirations that it came from. Like they want to sit here and say, oh, JJK is so sick and all these other things. It's like, bro, you do realize that majority of the power leveling systems came from Dragon Ball. Majority. And it's very well known that like Naruto and all of them, it came, they copied essentially quote unquote ki. They just renamed it, right? Like you have chakra, you have ki, you have nen from Hunter x Hunter. Like these are all power systems that came from Dragon Ball. And if you really pay attention to the full history of anime too, you'll see that it's just essentially, for the most part, the same kind of formula over and over. Especially if you go with Shonen Jump, it's some type of adventure. 9 times out of 10, 3 students and a teacher. It's the exact same formula. It's just switched around a bit. But if you don't know that, and then you go and say like, well, JJK's power system, or that's, whatever power system you want to use is A, B, and C, and Dragon Ball doesn't compare. And it's like, you realize that like Dragon Ball invented technically like power systems. Obviously you have like D&D and stuff, but Dragon Ball put it on paper in a way, or I shouldn't say on paper, in a medium such as anime to make it to where it is today. Especially since Akira Toriyama also did Dragon Ball.
They just look at it as something like cool and pop and fun and a good way to get the attraction of the huzz. Yeah. Yes, I did die a little inside saying that out loud. And you know what? I'm thinking about all this and sitting here and talking about it and being like, shit. Am I the problem? Like, have I just turned into such an unk now that I can't accept the fact that the online anime community has changed and
Hold on, before he finishes, let me think about that. Because, pretty much what he's saying is back in my day, right? I don't know, maybe, possibly, because I can see like a lot of the new anime people honestly not even caring about Dragon Ball and seeing how Goku even got to where he is. They just care that, oh, there's UI now. Like, right? You see what I mean? Like, oh, there's UI now. How did he turn Super? I don't know how he turned Super Saiyan. I see that he went UI though. That was cool. And the other question that can be asked is, why would they care? Why would they care where the entire history of it? Because I would even argue a lot of people who watch Super only really watched Super. And they know nuggets. They know that, oh, Majin Buu is bad. Oh, Cell is bad. Stuff like that, right? But they don't know if that makes... They don't like know why Cell is bad. They don't know why Majin Buu is bad. And then even with the future... I don't want to spoil it, but Dragon Ball has also been recycling. But they don't... Again, they don't... And this is such a hard conversation. Because Dragon Ball is recycling sagas right now, too, if you read the manga. They're literally recycling. They just put a new face on it for the newer people, because they're not going to know about, the Saiyan saga, and then the Cell saga, the Android saga, the Majin Buu saga. And people like me, Joey, Sea-Dog, Giga, a lot of us who were there. And I have seen people calling it out. But again, when you're a tourist and you're new and you don't know, you're not going to care. You just want to know what the newest thing is. And maybe that could be a problem too. Oh man, it is a little difficult, because I can see both sides of why knowing the history is so damn important, but also it's kind of like, well, why would they? For what? JJK looks cool. Okay, let's just keep it pushing. Okay, Demon Slayer looks cool. Let's keep it pushing. Dragon Ball Super's out. Oh yeah, that's really cool. We're on Daima now, right? Yeah, Dragon Ball Daima's out. Oh yeah, I saw Super. I don't know anything about Z. I know the major stuff. Oh, I saw, Boruto, and I saw a little bit of Shippuden. I think I get it. I don't know. Oh, it's kind of difficult.
Most of it has been replaced by these new and fresh faces and these darn kids nowadays coming to take over the land that we once held the flag on. I don't know, because I'm sure there's a couple of people in the comments who are saying that exact thing.
I want to read the comments.
All right,
I do.
Unc, you don't even watch anime anymore. Well, you know what? Maybe there's a fucking reason for that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because the way that I see the anime community now is not the same anime community that I was a part of and I grew up with. And I'm sorry if that makes me out to be an Unc, but trust me, kids, you will feel this in about 5-10 years from now.
You'll feel it.
Whether you like it or not. Now, in saying all of this, there is, in my opinion, one positive thing that came out of this influx of anime tourists. And it's the fact that it really made the anime industry take itself a lot more seriously. Because we wouldn't have nearly as many anime movies, like big budget, big screen anime films. We wouldn't nearly have as high of an animation quality and production quality as we do now. We nearly wouldn't have as many just shows being made if it wasn't for this new influx of this demographic that was previously uninterested in the medium.
I don't know. Having an influx of shows isn't always good, in my opinion. I'm more of a quality over quantity. Because like I said, I've seen some of these new things, what's popular, what's releasing. It's down to more of a marketing science, where you just more so, the demographics, 14-year-olds who like titties, you know what I mean? And it's not people making art anymore. At least in my opinion, it's like, make it pretty, use the same thing that other people have done, and then just kind of leave it at that. That's why I like anime that tend to just go out of the mold, rather than a lot of shonen stuff. Like I don't even really watch shonen anymore, especially since they've been going on for so long. Like, Jesus Christ, a lot of the shonen has been going on for a while.
Regardless of how you like to view anime today and how quote unquote mainstream it has gotten, I think as an anime fan, we like to see the medium evolve. We like to see the medium get better in terms of just quality. Like, regardless of whether you don't like One Piece, or you don't like JJK, or you don't like Solo Leveling, or you don't like all of these like big mainstream shows that.
And I will say this too: Korea is starting to come up really huge. This is technically a sidebar, but Korea is starting to really ramp up. They're coming up in the video game world. Even though I know they're more on the grindy side for video games, but they're coming up. A lot more people are actually getting their animations done in Korea too. I don't know if you guys know this. Great example is like Steven Universe was done in Korea, or at least that main animation part. The storyboarding was done in America. But a lot of these shows you watch, believe it or not, a lot of them are done in Korea, and not in America or even Japan. A lot of people are outsourcing to Korea. So I've not seen Solo Leveling. I know that's Korean, though, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, which is why that whole thing popped up in my head.
Movies now, you can't deny that a lot of these shows look absolutely fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, I've only seen clips of the new Demon Slayer movie that is out in cinemas right now, and it's fucking astonishing how good this fucking movie looks. Like, it's almost making me consider going to go watch it, even though I didn't even finish season 2. A couple of days from now, the new Chainsaw Man movie is coming out, and I didn't think that they would.
I do want to see that. Chainsaw Man's another thing I was seeing. I even did a little bit of a snoop around the next arc and everything.
Get better at the animation from the anime series, but just from the trailer, it looks freaking incredible. Like, we would not have anything like this if it wasn't for these anime tourists. Like, if anime was still just as niche of a thing in Japan,
it wouldn't have,
or especially in the West,
it wouldn't have popped off.
We wouldn't be getting shows like this. We would probably still be stuck in, like, early.
You want to know something? I think it depends, because when you say anime, and this is my perspective, it's hard to just leave it to literal animation, because anime has become more of a style than just quote unquote animation. So like gacha games are anime. You see what I mean? Gacha games are also anime and stuff like that, or things that are around it. So maybe it wouldn't have been literal animations or like shows. It would have been maybe video games. It might have been, the music, because a lot of the music too They just put it in there. So a great example is like the Dandarang song, right, Otonoke, and stuff like that.
Early 2000s quality, which, you know, I have a soft spot for. Don't get me wrong. That was my freaking childhood. But at the same time, I can also recognize that a lot of the shows don't look that great and haven't really aged all that well. And you know what? In a weird way, this kind of influx of anime tourists has also kind of taken me out of retirement. Yeah. Again, I mentioned this in my previous video where I talked about reels, or, you know, the fact that I started making more short form content revolving around anime. These, like, I guess, quote unquote, anime tourists, if you will, that I have seen on things like TikTok and Instagram have almost inspired me to start talking about anime again, because
it's ridiculous. It's so, oh my God, just the amount of dumb, stupid oh my God, dude. It's so bad.
I thought
it's so bad. Actually, I saw I don't know his name, but it's the black dude with the fro, the curly fro, and it was saying this is so wild to me. He was watching Naruto, right? He was watching the top characters through Shonen Jump that was voted on, and people said Sakura was like number 2. And I was sitting here and I was like, okay. And I think there was different categories, but that was one of the things that I agree with Joey. It made me low-key want to record a video too. Because I wasn't mad that Sakura was number 2. It was more so confusion. Because again, if you know the history of Sakura, she was technically the most hated character for I don't think it was for a very long time. Nobody liked her. But then now she's number 2, kind of out of the blue. You see what I mean? I don't know. That's why I keep saying I don't know, because it could just be, hey, a lot of the new people, for whatever reason, they just like Sakura. And, you know, I'm just in unk mode.
I had some bad takes on anime. Yeah. It almost inspires the bully in me to be like, hey, you know what? I feel like I need to teach these kids.
Yeah.
What actual anime criticism and opinions are all about. And it's so fucking funny to me, the amount of people, every time I upload like an anime related short or an anime related TikTok, or, you know, I comment on the video that inspired me to make this video, just the amount of people either like apologizing to me, being like, we owe this man an apology, or the fact that people are like, I don't know, genuinely excited for me to come back to talking about anime and stuff like that. Look, at the end of the day, what am I trying to say here? Am I trying to say that, hey, go out there and bully all the anime tourists off the platform, or that, oh, anime tourism has ruined the sanctity of Japanese cartoons? No, I'm not really saying any of that at all. I think, if anything, if you are an anime fan who is not an anime tourist, and you're saying all this thing about, like, you know, get all the anime tourists out of here and stuff like that, I just don't think, you know, you should take them all that seriously. I personally have been having a lot of fun just kind of roasting anime tourists and, you know, just kind of in a funny way making fun of them for their bad takes. Because at the end of the day, that's all it is. They're just opinions. And yeah, you know, some people might be like, oh, but, you know, if you have a big following online, then you have some responsibility to, you know, give the right information, blah, blah, blah. But you know, at the end of the day, they're all just opinions, man. If you want to believe that Solo Leveling is the next coming of Jesus, or you want to believe that Astro Boy is the greatest anime ever created.
Oh my God.
That's cool, dude. You can feel that way. That's totally valid. But what these anime tourists need to realize, that as valid as it is to have opinions like that, you're also not free from any criticism either. So look, I'm not going to drag on this video much longer. All I'm going to say is this. If there are any people watching this video who identify as an anime tourist, or as someone who maybe got into anime over the COVID pandemic, I'm first of all going to say, welcome. One thing you will come to learn very quickly is that the anime community, the online anime community,
it's very
the
rabid.
Biggest bunch of unforgiving dickheads on the internet. But at the same
very
time,
unforgiving.
Don't take it all that seriously, okay? Just chill. Take your time with exploring the medium And I think most importantly, come to appreciate the medium for what it is. Even though you personally may not agree with all of the different aspects that make anime, for example, you know, all of these like high school romances or these questionable ages that some of these characters
it's actually
have,
the questionable ages. It's actually really interesting when he said the romances. Now that I'm remembering, back then it was very, I guess the best word to say is like segregated. The girls were very much more into that stuff. Like Inuyasha had fighting, but it was very romantic. Between Inuyasha and Kagome is her name, I think. Was her name Kagome? I think her name was Kagome. And then you had like Fruits Basket, you had Maid Sama, you had what else was back then? You had animes like that were very cutesy, or on Host Club, that they just absolutely ate up, and the guys were like, I want to see dudes beat the crap out of each other. Bleach, Naruto, Dragon Ball, One Piece. We wanted to see the fighting. It's so back then, at least, it was very different. Girls were very much into that, but now everyone's all over the place. Like I said, I saw Ouran Host Club. I see why people like it. It's hilarious. It's super funny if you haven't seen it. Fruits Basket. I saw Fruits Basket. It wasn't my thing, but I mean, if I was a girl, I kind of get it. You know, it's one chick and there's like 7 dudes. And I think the chick was like homeless or something. Man.
Some of the fact that, I don't know, older anime are maybe boring to you or anything like that. Just try to understand and try to appreciate the culture and the subculture for what it is. Because regardless of whether it goes against what you morally believe is correct or superior, it ain't gonna change for you. You are just one person who watches Japanese cartoons going against 70 years of history that was created by a bunch of Japanese people back in the 60s. Just enjoy those shows for what they are. And if you have opinions on some of them, I say, don't be afraid to express them. Because you know what? Everyone started off as an anime tourist. It's just that anime tourists back in the day were self-aware enough to maybe, I don't know, take a little bit of time to actually explore the medium before expressing their opinions about it online. And at the same time, we took our time to appreciate the medium for what it is, the art for what it is. Because at the end of the day, regardless of how you view it or not, it is an art. And much like any art medium, there's a history behind it, there is a culture behind it, and it takes a lot of time to like get your foot really into that realm. I mean, fuck, I've been making anime content online now for over a decade, and I still go out and want to learn more about the medium and you know, learn about how it came to be and what it will become. Because yes, even though there are a lot of shows in the medium that I absolutely love and some that I absolutely despise and a lot that I still haven't seen yet, I want to know more about the medium and I love the medium for what it is. And if you are one of those people who don't appreciate the medium, don't understand the medium, don't give a shit about the history, don't give a shit about the cultural significance of all of this, maybe don't make a tier list video trying to dissect every single anime.
No, I agree with that. I wanna read the comments. It's BG Mike. Growing up an anime fan in the 90s and early 2000s is a feeling that I will never forget, and I feel sorry for the ones who didn't get to experience it, because it just felt like this new cool world that was so much different than everything else. And not once did I ever want to change it. We just accepted what it was for what it we accepted for what it was, and it was sick. That may sound like a weeb thing to say, but only those who did understand what I'm talking about. I'll never forget your Clonade is also wild. Clonade is, man, that's a lot. These tourists are the same people who called anime weird before 2020. Yeah. But it's basically, I like horror movies, but I don't like gore. Instead of consuming movies without gore, I complain and say that movies with gore shouldn't exist. Yeah. I used to hate anime my entire life until 2020 when I watched the first episode of Death Note. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. It's always kind of been like that with anime. It really has. That's why I said, like, are we, like, really, am I just being unk here? Is that what this is? But I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think he put, I don't see why he would put the video he was talking about, yeah, in the what's it called. So, okay. Maybe if I find it, I'll do another video, but thanks guys. I'll like, comment, subscribe. Put any questions. Again, I've been into this too for a long time. I don't mind answering questions because this is something that's not just anime, it's all over the place. So thank you guys. I'll see you.